America we know today was built on the brutal enslavement and trafficking of stolen Africans forced to build this country on their literal backs. Despite, however, what Trump and his anti-diversity, anti-equity, anti-inclusion cronies want you to believe, this is American history. Its impact is the American status quo. It's unjust and it is wrong. No matter what anybody says, the history of America is the history of America. Right. And acknowledging that history is not a threat to the present would argue that ignoring that history, however, is a threat to our future. No matter how many attempts they make to whitewash this history, the blood of our enslaved Africans ancestors can't be erased from this land. We must acknowledge that. We must acknowledge that the systemic racism that has denied Black folks the ability to thrive and to survive in this nation to this very day. We see it and we feel it every day because the barriers put up in place by our own government, because of redlining, because of predatory lending, because of inequitable funding schemes for our schools are very real. Our government, no matter who is in power, has an obligation to right these wrongs, to provide reparations for descendants of enslaved Africans, to eliminate the racial wealth gap, to uplift the Black community. White supremacy is rampant in this country. Just look at the current administration and our own legislative body.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, this is one of the most ridiculous things I could imagine that the Blackity Blacks would pull out at a time like this in America's political history. That's right. You got these educated Black women who are serving in Congress, who are coming forth now introducing legislation. Now that Donald Trump is in office, we ain't heard from these people in years, and now they want to come out and say, oh, we're Blackity Black now. We represent the downtrodden Negroes in America, and we're going to introduce a bill to study reparations. Well, study? Old folks used to say, study long, study wrong. What you studying for? Because if I study you and your trajectory in America, I can see pretty clearly that reparations is not necessary for people to succeed that look like you, that look like me. Because when I look at you standing before those microphones, I say, hey, sis, how you get there? And I guarantee you, there's going to be some facts in her history or those among her or those around her that say, I bet you she didn't have a kid at 13 years old. Say, I bet you she didn't have a felony on her record. I bet you she got a college degree or 2 or 3. And you could go through all of these Black women that are postulating in front of this microphone and say they probably have those common threads between them. Well, that leads me to a certain understanding, sister. That if we follow your path, then maybe we could end up where you end up. But you are out here advocating not for education, no. Not for sexual abstinence, no. Not for being a law-abiding citizen, no. You are out here advocating for reparations. And your game's so weak, girl, that you can't even advocate for reparations. You advocating for a study of the issue of reparations. Well, let me tell you something. They pulled that same card, them Blackity Blacks, they pulled that same card here in my state, in California, and they pulled them Negroes along and left them on the hook for years. And when it came down to it, they was just hanging on the hook, empty-handed, as usual. But you know what? When you sit there with your hands out, you can't blame nobody for leaving your hands empty. That's how you presented them, empty hands. Nobody is obligated to give you anything. And for you to say that you deserve it, well, I would argue, sis, that there are people who are not working as hard as you are because they haven't achieved. There are people who aren't even trying. But in your quest for diversity, equity, and inclusion, you would say, well, that someone who has worked their butt off to achieve should get the same level of respect, the same level of reparation that someone who hasn't worked at all should get. Why? Because reparation is repairing the ills of the past. Well, I think those ills have been repaired in certain ways that I won't go into in this video, but We have to look at us. And what I see when I look at us, sis, is that Black folks like you, the Blackity Blacks who have achieved, continue to put themselves out there for that white Democrat structure, that white Democrat plantation. Y'all seem to keep availing yourselves to do their dirty work. Every time they paint themselves into a corner, well, here go the Blackity Blacks. Come out to save them. As if they saved you, but you sitting here telling me in the microphone they haven't saved anybody. So why are you so beholden to their message? Why are you so beholden to that Democrat plantation? Why are you out here pushing their propaganda to the Blackity Blacks? Who knighted you a voice? Who selected you to be the voice of the Blackity Blacks where you could push these kinds of messages into the community? Well, I'm here to tell you, and I hope you save this video because I know it's going to age like fine wine. Ain't nothing going to come of this. This is foolishness. They're just trying to keep you on the hook. Don't fall for the bait. Where are the real men of the community that need to take the reins of power? Take that microphone out from in front of sister's face and begin to speak with a little bass in your voice and speak the truth. Speak truth to power so that these young folks can learn what they really need in order to be successful. They don't need reparations. You're just going to go out and buy a Gucci belt. Go out and buy some drink. Go out and buy some rims. How is that going to improve your state? They're going to give you a piece of money, and before you could say reparations, that money is going to be spent. Because many of you find yourself in the hole right now. You could use some reparations to get caught up on them bills you got. Well, maybe you haven't been managing your money correctly. Maybe you haven't been doing the best you can to be the best you can be. Maybe you need to do some introspective research. We don't need a committee to study reparations. We need a committee to gather these Negroes together and put them in front of a mirror so they can look at themselves. And you will find, young sister, that they're not taking the steps you're taking. That's why they're not in front of the mic. They're not doing the things that you've done. That's why they're not in front of the mic. And somehow you feel like because you have achieved that you should be the spokesmouth for the community. Please do us all a favor and have a seat.
The idea of bringing forth a bill that every member of Congress should vote on to understand, effectuate, and socialize and study how we can move a country from tyranny, subjugation to economic prosperity, it's clear. The history is clear. I'm extremely excited that we're going to bring this bill to the floor and we'll be able to show who really cares about this country, who really cares about the descendants of slaves who built this here Capitol. I'm so proud of the Congressional Black Caucus and our willingness to stand up in a time where Black erasure, Latino erasure, Native American erasure, Asian American erasure, LGBTQ erasure is the agenda du jour. Not only will we fight back, we will win. Today, as we announce this movement to move forth this bill, young people in this country, fear not, because this movement will grow. It will continue. Not only will you be in the streets demanding justice, you should know that we will be here in the United States Capitol as members of the United States Congress, saying what Miss Lee said every single day, saying what Ella Baker said every day, saying what Fannie said every day. We who believe in real freedom, real true equity.
That have said that race-conscious policies are bad politics. And we have seen a retreat from elevating these issues. What is your message to fellow Democrats who would say that now is not the time to be talking about reparations for Black Americans?
Well, Dr. King reminds us that the time is always right to do what is right. And Coretta Scott King reminds us that freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. I'm very clear about the fact that the path to justice is not a linear one. And so we're here to do that work. And I think it's important, while we are actively blunting the coordinated and unrelenting assaults from this hostile administration, that we are actively advancing an affirmative vision for this country and for this party. I would also add that I do think race conscious policies are responsive policies. I am asked about HR 40 in community in the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District by people of every walk of life, every race and ethnicity, every gender identity and expression, because they are simply people of conscience. I've always said that policy is my love language. And the reason I say that is because the majority of the harms that have been caused, particularly that have been foisted onto Black Americans, were legislated. So if we can legislate hurt and harm, we can legislate justice. Amen. We can legislate healing. And we're certainly long overdue. And for those that would say we need to just get over it, that's interesting. When as a nation, you are benefiting right now from an economy that was built on the brutalized backs and the indignities and the horrors of chattel slavery and our African ancestors.
Y'all, it's 2025 and they still on these old talking points that ain't got us nowhere. You ain't made no progress on the basis of these talking points. What do you think that's going to get us? Who do you think is listening to this? Who do you think in this new administration, in this new America under Donald Trump 2.0, who do you think is paying attention to this foolishness? And I know we've had these conversations for hundreds of years. Black folks want Black folks to be better, but we have disagreed on the pathway to get to better. Martin and Malcolm didn't agree on the pathway, but they agreed on the end goal. Okay, we can say they agreed that they wanted Black folks to be better. W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington had the same disagreement. We wanted Black folks to be better, but we disagreed completely on how to get there. We've had these conversations, y'all, over time, so this is not new. But this old playbook has not gotten American Blacks anywhere heretofore. So how do you figure that under this president, that this is the right play? This is the wrongest of plays. This man is trimming the fat in government. This man is deporting illegals. This man is making all kinds of structural changes to government that need to be made. But if you got a whole community who couldn't thrive under the old criminal system, and let's be honest, let's talk about this just for a second. I'll give you 60 seconds on it. Maybe, just maybe, that the Blackity Blacks, when you look at the Democrat schemes that were in place in government, some of the things that Doge is uncovering, some of the hidden billions, some of the things that they were funding, maybe Blackity Blacks ain't been doing well on that platform because somebody didn't want them to do well. Yeah, they seem to fund everything LGBTQ, even overseas. They sending millions of dollars to drag queen story hours. But you can't start your little coffee shop in the hood. You can't even get a little SBA loan for your little business. You can't open your little restaurant. No, they'll let you open a church. Or you can do that, or you can have 10 churches. You can do that all day long and worship their Jesus. Not the God of heaven, but the one that they allow you to worship. Oh, they'll give you that. They'll give you that 501c3 if you want a church. But let your 501c3 want to go into the hood and do the right thing. Let your 501c3 be based on educating young Black folks in the hood. Nah, we ain't talking about reparations. We talking about making you better, young man. We talking about making you better, young woman, so you won't need a handout. We trying to train you to do the work. Oh, I got my 501c3 in 2010, y'all. I know all about that game. They fund what they want. And if they don't want the hood to be better, they not gonna fund it. But they'll send these Blackity Blacks out here to spread their message that you are downtrodden, that you are born to lose in America, that you can't win even though they themselves have won in certain respects. They have climbed certain rungs on that ladder to success, only to turn around and tell you that you can't do what they did. No, sis, that ain't the way to do it. Tell us how you did it. Give up the game. How did you get where you got? How did you pass that class? What did you have to do? What is the road like? Share the experience, because there's somebody behind you who's looking up to you. And you have wasted that opportunity on something like reparations. Instead of giving them the game and giving them the pathway, you have told them to hold their hands out. Well, understand this, with your hands out, nobody's coming to save you. You better live like it. You better act like it, because especially under Donald Trump 2.0, he ain't giving a crippled crab a crutch. He ain't giving nobody nothing who don't earn it. The man told you during the campaign, it's all about merit. Well, what merit do you possess? What achievements have you made in your life? What have you accomplished? Because there are certain decisions that can be made that put you on a trajectory to be successful. Ain't no guarantees in life at all. But we're talking about leverage here. You can make certain choices in your life that will give you a better opportunity to be successful. Are you making those choices? Or are you waiting on the sisterhood in Congress who have achieved themselves to sweep you a few crumbs off the plate and tell you to hold your hands out in order to catch them? Nah, you deserve better. You are better, but you got to do the work. You got to prove it. They want to go back to slavery, talk about chattel slavery. Look, those slaves endured, those slaves suffered, but those slaves survived, and many of them thrived. Like a Frederick Douglass, who is the GOAT. You can come from nothing and create something. You can get it out the mud. Greatness is in you. Look, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world, but you got to prove it. What are you proving by sitting there with your hand out? No, use those hands to get to work and achieve. This story angered me. I don't like to admit it because I like to be neutral as I review some of these stories, but this one right here angered me to know that the political climate is shifting in this country. And these people would be so feckless as to go back to that old playbook that ain't never worked. I'm looking at them with the side eye saying, sis, who sent you? Who are you working for? Whose best interest is at the front of your mind? Because it don't seem like you got the community in mind when you step in front of that microphone and talk like this. Y'all, black folks continue to lose because they continue to follow losers. And sometimes, in a case like this, where you got people who are actually elected in Congress, selected in Congress, maybe sometimes you lose because you follow losers who look like winners. Because the people who want you to lose prop them up. That's why you got to go behind the veil and find out what plantation are they really on. Who is your master for real, for real? Who are you serving? Because it ain't us. Nah. Y'all ain't like us. Y'all let me know what you think about this. I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.